Blessings, everybody. This is Light. It's been a little while since I've talked to you and presented a moment of truth. There's been a myriad of things that's been going on. But despite each one of those situations, I did have the time to sit down and read the Bible, and I started reading the book of Jeremiah. This book has been great, a wonderful treasure. Reason, there's so many works that growing up, many other people had access to that I didn't know that helped detail the greatness of the kingdom. Now, as I've been reading in Jeremiah in the first few chapters, of course we understand formed thee in the womb, and we understand the beautiful beginnings as Yahweh speaks to his people. But one of the things that begins as well is the theme of accountability. One of the big issues in our society, a lot of us have an issue with the willingness to be vulnerable. It's in our vulnerability, moments that we perceive as weaknesses, that somebody's strength is much better, made manifest within our life. Now, since I've been in Washington, anybody who's part of my close circle, my family, they understand and they know, man, this is some of the things that's been going on. But taking from that stem, with the book of Jeremiah, I had to even begin looking at myself and my life. I've seen the way how other people seem to spring forward and have a lot of success, and I felt like I was struggling. But I was just listening to a song that I had started. I've been working on a freestyle 16 bars a day project, and I went back and I was like, man, instead of 16, and I've just been boom, 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 knocking all those 16s out and turning them into full songs, and they're all freestyles. But when I analyze my music throughout the years and the mentality, the mindset behind it, so then when I began looking at the way how my mind operated, growing up in the Bible Belt, pride and a lot of the 7 deadly sins, as you hear, we don't go in that direction. But we also know that there's the Beatitudes, there's the fruits of the Spirit, there's other 7s that are present that allows for progress and even more beneficial success to accomplishing one's goals. In Yeshua's moments where he dealt with the things he dealt with, Jeremiah, Moshe, we understand as Moses, Abraham, so many other individuals in the faith, Job, God always took these men through hurdles, but put them someplace else that was tremendously different. You factor in the writings of Nikola Tesla, and we know that Abraham built ziggurats. We understand what a ziggurat is. And Tesla's push to want to have this stuff in society, it caused me to begin examining the word differently and realizing to look at these moments through a different lens of power. For me, as if I say it right, Bene Elohim, or a son of the Elohim, that we have a divine right to be further advanced than we previously were. In the book of Jeremiah, one of the things that was coming about was Yahweh was talking about the things that the people did. It was your sins punishing you. It was this and this and that. I began going through and evaluating from years ago things that I did, projects that I started that I never completed, and I wondered why it felt like, man. Now, we understand with the glory of the Lord has returned. It deals with the children of Israel. There had been a little war session, the Ark of the Covenant. It had been captured by the Philistines. Now, historically, a lot of people don't realize that the Philistines are the groupings who would become the Romans and other notable figures throughout time. So there's a narrative that we would be wise to study that does have relevancy today. But I'm not going to get into the conjecture. That was allowed to happen. So then the temple of Dagon bowed before Yahweh. probably have talked about this before, but not in this way. In our vulnerable times, in times where sometimes it felt like we were being defeated, sometimes God is setting our Ark of the Covenant, our tabernacle that contains all the promises, seeming to be paraded by the enemy, so that the enemy has his ankles cut out from under him. Remember, I was doing an interview with Sean Grant. He was like, what about if your ankles, somebody try to snatch your feet out from under you and you have to start over? And I joked, I laugh when I think about it now, and using this analogy, that previously happened to Yahweh. But it was one of the greatest acts of war strategy ever. Because during that period that Yahweh was present and they thought, we were parading around that we own. I don't know if somebody can hear what I'm saying. We own this. Our shepherd proved to be the greatest goat ever. Our shepherd proved to be the goat. And ended up shepherding the gods that had always stood tall against him. Jonah, going to preach and minister, gets turned about, being swallowed by a whale, ends up on the shore, preaches to people, listen. Had to become vulnerable. The Prophet Muhammad, finding himself in Ethiopia, or Aksum, standing before the Nagasi, which we understand would be the present day word for nigga. The big one in charge, being vulnerable, and still preaching the greatness of our Supreme Being, and the unity within. But I'm placing you here so then you are able to manifest this at this specific timing. At the age of 35, would I ever imagine my life would be where it is today? No. Thought it was going to be somewhere completely different. But the more that I find myself aligned with the purpose of God, and I'm not going to try and act like the most righteous person. I'm very open about my life and my lifestyles. But the more that I do dive into that word and I study the reality of what's going on and I see past the way how faith had been taught, I realize that we really have always held the key to something greater. And that's why when the old people would say, everything you need is right there in that book, baby, I get it completely different now. Be accountable, which allows you to be vulnerable. And you'll be utterly surprised at what you experience. In one of my moments of sitting in meditation, I heard God speak to me, or Abba Father speak to me, and begin talking about emotions and how that works. And when discussing how these emotions work and the choices we make to engage with them, for myself, understanding how you can control even energetically your body and manifest life. I'm not going to speak too much because there's so much that I'm going to get into. Be accountable, be vulnerable, trust the Lord on the navigation of where your life is going now. This isn't a situation where you're going to be sitting there thinking you're eating blessings and end up swallowing a frog. But where the finest fruits of the Spirit, the finest breads of life, the finest waters of heaven, the finest foods for sustenance to your man, your physical, and your spiritual, that will bring you to a better place. When you live your life with the chief focal point of your goal, and you know what your purpose is, one can chase the top, one can chase 1,000, two can chase 10,000. I want to encourage you to be blessed, love somebody,